think I have this painting in my house. So, and where, Danny, where do you want your seat to be?
Good evening. Good evening and welcome to the Explorers Club. My name is Paul Tangy. I'm the co-chair of public lectures here at the club. And on behalf of the club, the Explorers Club president, Richard Garriott, and our public lectures committee co-chair, Natalie Cash, I want to start by thanking you all for joining us here tonight. Since 1904, our club has come together to form a community promoting the scientific exploration of land, sea, air, and space. And since 1922, every Monday night, We've gathered for a public lecture as part of our core mission of science, education, and service. Your presence here tonight makes you a part of that community. Your support tonight makes this tradition possible, and so for that, we thank you. Please raise your hand if this is your first time at the Explorers Club. All right, good. That's a good sign. We've got, so welcome. You belong here, so thank you for coming tonight. Please raise your hand if you're an Explorers Club member. All right, so if you raise your hand for the first time, take note of who has their hands up. To order a drink at the bar afterwards, please find an Explorers Club member to bring you as a guest. We're pleased to have as our special guest, several special guests tonight, but tonight marks the club's honoring of Veterans Day. And I'd like to begin by acknowledging and thanking our friends from the Explorers Club Military Veterans Initiative, which dates to the aftermath of World War I. It's recently been championed by veterans like Bob Atwater. We've had strong support from a number of leadership. We're very lucky to have a former president of the Explorers Club with us tonight, Fania Rose. And by friends and supporters like Fania, yes. Fania broke the glass ceiling here at the Explorers Club in the breaks of the presidents. So pretty cool to have the first woman president of the Explorers Club here with us tonight. She is a friend and a supporter of the military and veteran community here, as is Lindley Young, our curator, Lacey Flint. In the Explorers Club, we have a remarkable cohort of military-connected and veterans, from Vietnam veterans to a young woman I met just yesterday in Texas, just joining our Texas chapter. She's an undergraduate at A&M after serving 7 years in the Army Reserve. And when you look at that scale of veterans, we also have Carl Schuster is here. He, I think, is maybe one of our older veterans here tonight. But thank you to all of the veterans and those in the club working to ensure that we welcome and honor our club's military-connected legacy. Today, as the club continues its mission as a meeting place for explorers promoting that scientific discovery, we can and should proudly join in the national holiday of Veterans Day, remembering those who serve. Do we have any currently serving or veteran service members here tonight? Please, thank you. We're going to ask you to stand later in the lecture. So part of honoring this special legacy is recognizing one of the most famous ships from our club's history, the USS Bear. The Bear is both the most famous ship in our club, but it's also the most famous ship in the Coast Guard. So tonight we're pleased to be joined by Rear Admiral Johnston and his wife, the Superintendent of the Coast Guard Academy. Thank you very much for coming. The 43rd Superintendent, since 1876, the Coast Guard Academy has developed officer-ready leaders of character who embody Coast Guard values, who influence and inspire others, and who decide what is right and demonstrate the courage to act accordingly. And now for our very special guest, we have 13 cadets from the United States Coast Guard Academy. Come on in, cadets. They're joined here with the Director of Cadet Vocal Music from the Coast Guard Academy, Dr. Daniel R.M. McDavid. I want to thank Dr. McDavid for developing tonight's program with me. The good parts are all from him. And I'd like to, just before we start, invite these cadets to, if you could go one by one and introduce yourself. Speak loudly, the mic's right there in front of you. But introduce yourself, where you're from, and what you hope to do in the Coast Guard.
I'm from Houston, Texas, and I hope to be a pilot.
Good evening, everyone. My name is First Class Cole Monahan. I'm from Vienna, Virginia. I hope to be a float officer and also a Coast Guard lawyer.
Good evening, everyone. I am First Class John Rex Gabiola. I'm from Manila, Philippines, and when I graduate, I go back home and serve the Philippine Coast Guard.
Mabuhay.
class Carson Works, and when I graduate, I hope to go aviation. Good evening, everyone. I'm third class Colin Key. I'm from Warner Robins, Georgia, and I want to go afloat on an FRC.
Hello, everyone. My name is first class Billy Nunn. I'm from Delaware, and when I graduate, I'm hoping to go on a Wimsel in the northeastern area.
Good evening, everyone. My name is First Class Emma Deary. I'm from Sussex County, New Jersey, and I'm hoping to get a medium endurance cutter out of the Northeast.
Good evening, everyone. I'm First Class Talon Schaufelberger. I'm from Texas, and when I graduate, I hope to do engineering for the Coast Guard.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Third Class Olivia Wallen. I'm from Virginia, and when I graduate, I hope to go on an icebreaker.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Jalen O'Hara from Whidbey Island, Washington. When I graduate, I hope to be on buoy tender anywhere in the United States.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Third Class Megan Mahoney. I'm from Wapakong, New Jersey, and I'm hoping to go career afloat, preferably somewhere cold.
Good evening, everyone. I'm fourth class Flores from Baguio, Philippines, and after I graduate, I will go back and serve my country.
That is awesome. All right, cadets, you can take a seat, please. So, super excited for tonight. Our goal tonight is to celebrate the Bear's history. So the way this is going to work, I'm going to tell a few stories. Do we have enough space for all of you? There we are. Okay. I heard there's tight berthing on Eagle. Eagle is the Coast Guard's currently serving tall ship. Equally cool. I have some friends in the club from the Coast Guard who I love Eagle, and they're graduates. They don't seem to have fond feelings for it. Apparently, they make you sit tight there. But all right, so the goal for tonight, celebrate the Bear's history. The way it's going to work, I'm going to tell you a few brief stories about the Bear, and then Danny is going, and the cadets are going to sing a song that's connected to the story that I'm going to tell. So it's a bit interactive, but let's do it live, and let's have fun with this. So our goal tonight is to celebrate. It's going to go about 45 minutes, and then we'll have questions at the end. All right? Our goal tonight is to celebrate the Bear's history, which is itself a challenge. For 89 years, she kept cruising. She couldn't stop, wouldn't stop moving. And how are we going to cover that in the next 45 minutes? It's like we've got this music in our minds that's saying it's going to be all right. So I've selected 5 eras from the Bear's history, and Dr. McDavid's brought a song that highlights each of those eras. So are we ready to start? The first era is, we'll call this the Sealing Greely era. And this starts with, in 1874, a sealing ship with 6-inch sides was launched off Newfoundland. And for about 10 years, she hunted seals there. But then our story goes to 1881, when these 24 soldiers of the United States Army's Lady Franklin Bay expedition set off on one of 2 missions as part of the International Polar Year. And this was the first international coordinated effort to collect data about the environment, about the climate. And Lieutenant Greely, he is in the middle there. Lieutenant Greely's expedition is going to between Greenland and Canada. And their mission is to go up there, and their goal is to try to do farthest north, get to the North Pole, set a record for farthest north. And they're going to winter over and collect scientific data. We could have an entire lecture about the Lady Franklin Bay expedition, often known as the Greely expedition. I'm going to try hard to keep it to the high points here because I find it fascinating. This really, in my mind, is the origins of the Explorers Club. Because what happens is, as they are exploring the far north, Greely is number 1. Number 3 there is his first sergeant, a man named David Legg Brainerd. Those of you who are club historians here would recognize David Legg Brainerd as one of the charter members of the Explorers Club. This is them setting out to set the record for furthest north not just among Americans, but across the entire, closest to the North Pole, and a record that stands for decades after this. But that's over the winter of 1881. Summer of 1882, they're supposed to be picked up. And the short version of it is that the government is slow to send to contract. Government bureaucrats get slowed down with contracting their relief ship. And by the time the ships head north to pick them up, it's already iced over. But no problem, they had a plan for how to spend a second winter on the ice. And so the second winter, the government recognizes they really got to get this right. So at this point, they send a Navy lieutenant with the contracted ships to pick them up. I love this picture because you see the flag there. Over that second winter, they continue to collect data to try to, they're really pushing the boundaries of what we know about the environment up there. And then, but what happens that second summer when they should have been picked up is that the relief ships get trapped in the ice, and really heavy ice that season. And this next picture is one of the last pictures that's taken of the expedition, because according to the plan, the soldiers on the expedition were going to start coming south and link up with the ship with their relief ship as it was coming north. Unbeknownst to them, shortly after this picture was taken, that ship, or that small boat, they called it the Lady Greely, was crushed in the ice, and they were stranded out there. But no problem, they were able to salvage some supplies, and they keep coming south. But what they don't realize is that the ships that are coming to pick them up are also crushed in the ice and sink. And the crew members of that relief expedition barely escape. They have an epic survival tale on their own. What's terrifying now is that the soldiers of the Lady Franklin Bay expedition are trapped on the ice. There's what would have been this awful moment where these soldiers realize the days are getting shorter, and they realize that there isn't going to be, that no one's coming to pick them up, and they know that they only have food to last till March, and the next time that they have to get picked up would be in the following summer. This is an illustration that shows some of the conditions as they're trying to improvise and survive on the ice. Meanwhile, the U.S. government really starts to take their rescue seriously. This is becoming an international incident. And with that, they send a purchasing agent to St. John's. And they recognize that they maybe have gotten a little bit ahead of their skis in terms of what we're trying to do with that expedition, and we don't really have the ships that we need that can go rescue it. So we turned to the sealers up in St. John's, and the British government, interestingly, loans us one of their ice ships. So Her Majesty's ship Alert comes over and is crewed by U.S. Navy personnel. And a purchasing agent finds the Bear, the sealer, the Bear, and has it modified for government service, and it's commissioned into the Navy, where it sails with these three ships. That's the Her Majesty's ship Alert, Bear in the middle, and then the USS Thetis here. So the USS Bear sails north. That's a close-up of Bear when she's arriving, when she finds at the time there were 7 survivors still alive. They're so sick, they're so close to death as they starve up there, that one of the 7 doesn't survive the journey back even after they're rescued. But Bear gets there, and this dramatic rescue. So here's this painting of the rescue of Greely. Anyone recognize this? So the original of this very famous print is where the cocktail reception was. And this is the survivors of the Lady Franklin Bay expedition aboard the Bear. There's Greely in the middle. You can always tell Greely because he's got a beard, because at the Battle of Antietam, he was bayoneted through the face, which caused him to then convalesce. And while he was convalescing, also as a result of the Battle of Antietam, we enlisted black soldiers for the first time since the Revolution. And Greely is commissioned as an officer of the U.S. colored troops because of that. But whenever you see his beard, think of Antietam. All right, so they're rescued, they're coming back, and they arrive in New York. This is them sailing in New York Harbor past Castle Williams on Governor's Island there. A horrible tragedy. all of these U.S. soldiers that were basically killed in action on a scientific research expedition. But thankfully they were rescued, and they were rescued by the Bear. And so that makes me think about, do you have any songs, Danny, that might kind of speak to how it's a warship now, but it originally was a sealing ship?
I think we've got one. Okay, yeah, there's one about trying to identify the ship passing through above northern Africa, High Barbary. I think that's one. Okay, we've got one. We've got one for you. Okay. Yeah, I'll go ahead and do this one. Yeah, so this is an old kind of English ballad, and really it's the captain asking the crew, can you identify is this friend or foe? And ultimately they determine it's a foe. And then the last verse tells you the outcome of that discovery. All right. Let's start with the D. There was a gallant English ship a-sailing on the sea. Blow high, blow low, for sailors all are we. The captain, he was searching for a pirate enemy, a-sailing down along the coast of High Barbary.
There's naught upon the stern and there's naught upon the lee. Blow high, blow low, for sailors all are we. The lofty ship to windward and she's sailing fast and free, a-sailing down along the coast of High Barbary.
Oh, hail her, our gallant captain cried. Blow high, blow low, for sailors all are we. Are you a man of war, or are you privateer, said he, a-sailing down along the coast of High Barbary?
Oh, I am not a man of war, no privateer, said he. Blow high, blow low, for sailors all are we. But I'm a salt sea pirate who's a-looking for his fee, a-sailing down along the coast of High Barbary.
'Twas broadside to broadside, a long time ere we lay. Blow high, blow low, for sailors all are we, until we shot their masts away and blew them into sea, a-sailing down along the coast of High Barbary.
All right. That's awesome. All right, so the Greely expedition's been rescued. At least the 6 survivors of them are. And as we go forward from 1884 then, Greely goes on to become the first president of the Explorers Club. So it's pretty cool to think of the connection right here between this room, between this man, between Fania, between the club continuing to do its work. And we remember famous people like Greely. But the people who really do a lot of the work on the expeditions are people like Brainerd. And I believe that's Brainerd there. Brainerd, the first sergeant, goes on to become an accomplished Arctic explorer, but you're never really going to read anything. In fact, if you try to read something about him, David Brainerd, there's a missionary named David Brainerd who's quite famous and has nothing to do with our David Brainerd. Our David Brainerd, though, with his friends, with this community that keeps meeting, they eventually formed the Explorers Club. Brainerd is one of the charter members of the club, and he asked his friend Greely to be our first president. Now, the Navy, though, has the ship, the USS Bear, and what do we do with it? And they give it to the Revenue Cutter Service. So this is what it looks like as it's a U.S. government ship. They paid for it. They got to do something with it. So they sail it around the Horn. They give it to the Revenue Cutter Service, and she goes over to Oakland, where she joins the Alaska Patrol. The Revenue Cutter Service soon becomes it goes through a series of changes, but eventually it's known as the Coast Guard. During her service, this is Bear by 1910, and during her service there, she's best known for being captained by the first black commissioned officer of the United States government. Historical note, he identified as Irish, but he was part black. He was commissioned into the revenue service in 1880, and during this period of the Bear service, he becomes known as Roaring Mike Healy. During that time, there's Healy standing with the crew of the Bear conducting infantry drill. Now, why would the Coast Guard sailors be doing infantry drill? I would point out that these are cadets, not midshipmen. I think maybe that's why. As an Army guy, we like them. Why are they doing infantry drill on the deck of this ship? It's because during that time, the Bear was the federal government in the territory of Alaska. It was the courthouse. It was the federal detention center. And Healy really was the U.S. government personified during this role. He does a number of innovative things. He imports reindeer into Alaska. There's reindeer being loaded onto Bear. He participates in some epic rescues. This is depicting this legendary rescue of some iced-in ships, and crew members of the Bear's crew volunteered to go onshore and herd reindeer like 800 miles across the Alaska winter in order to provide some food to some starving, I don't know if they were sealers, some starving crew members. Pretty brave for coasties to get on the ground and go 800 miles herding reindeer through the winter. But you're going to see this in the story of Bear. She's constantly showing up in a time of crisis for other people and doing what the U.S. government needs done. This is a neat picture of them engaged in crew drill there with the cannon, and you really get the sense of kind of how Bear is straddling eras in service there. Look at the faces of those crew members. We mentioned that we remember the famous people like Roaring Mike Healy, and we should, but we really should remember the crew members who actually do the work, really the ones who actually made up the Explorers Club. We're proud of our famous members. Really proud of the day-to-day. There are 3,800 members of the Explorers Club. So the famous ones are cool, but really the ones that you get to know at events like this are the day-to-day ones. Look at these day-to-day expedition members. This is them rescuing whalers. There's the Bear up there. And here's the Bear sailing in Alaska. We got another good shot of a very Alaska scene there. And you can see they're modifying her because she serves all the way up until 1929. And so with that, any songs strike your fancy from that, Danny?
I think we've got to do Harbor. Or no, yeah, I think we should do Harbor. Okay, so this is one we started doing recently to honor the search and rescue missions of the Coast Guard. Particularly, we've been singing a lot this semester as we think about the hurricanes that are hitting in the southeast, where as people evacuate, the Coast Guard is moving in and getting positioned for search and rescue. And so what we like about this song is that it gets at what we hope those who have been rescued are feeling, at that new sense of security when they are finally brought safely into harbor. So let's go ahead and do this one, guys. All right?
When you cross the stormy waters, come rest ashore with your sons and with your daughters. Wander no more. We will always come to rescue, though the raging seas may roar. When you need a place to shelter, we're a harbor in the storm.
There'll be time for rest and sleeping. Come rest ashore. There'll be space for peace and healing. Wander no more. We will always come to rescue, though the raging seas may roar. When you need a place to shelter,
What a beautiful song written specifically for the Coast Guard Academy Choir to perform. And that idea of harbor, that idea of service, putting the interest of others ahead of yourself, there's cost to it. And over time, it wears you out. And the Bear got worn out. And she's retired to the harbor of Oakland, where she becomes a museum ship. She's decommissioned. She's given to the city of Oakland, turned into a museum ship. And you can imagine, kind of like, there's beautiful old things require revenue to keep them up. We thank you all for being here tonight and helping support the Explorers Club. Bear also needed revenue to be able to support her as she was in Oakland. And one of the ways that they generated revenue for her was by renting her out, including for the film. She was the set for the film Seawolf, based on the Jack London novel. Jack London's, there in Oakland and San Francisco, writing his stories about Hawaii, the Pacific, and what we have is a short, fun thing. Let's see if this works. The trailer of Seawolf. I invite you to, this is only about 2 minutes long, but it's kind of fun. I wanted to show this because you're going to get a sense of what Bear was actually like on board. You're going to see some images, some moving scenes of the interior of Bear during this time.
Hello, Mr. Sears. What's it going to be today?
Well, I just feel like something on the adventurous side, if you know what I mean.
Yes, I do. And I believe we've got just the thing you're looking for.
Jack London. Say he's still the greatest adventure writer of them all.
The best one he ever wrote was The Seawolf. And you know, it's a remarkable thing, but we get more calls for this book than any other adventure novel on our shelves. It's really one of the all-time bestsellers.
Do you mind if I browse through it a bit?
I'm warning you. Once you pick it up, you'll never be able to put it down.
Out of the grim gray mantle of an all-enveloping fog, a strange vessel sets her sails towards an even stranger destination.
That's Bear.
A phantom of the seas whose very name strikes terror into the hearts of all seagoing men. And never was her ship better named, for in her foaming wake lies a trail of plunder and piracy. The most hated, the most feared vessel afloat, manned by a crew that had to be shanghaied from San Francisco's Barbary coast. Men whose very souls belong to the most ruthless raider in the annals of the seas. A man? No, a brute, completely without feeling or conscience, who stalks the sea with all the lust and cunning of a wolf. A sea wolf.
My strength justifies me, Mr. Van Wyden. The fact that I can kill you and let you live as I choose. The fact that I control the destinies of all on board the ship. The fact that it's my will and my will alone that rules here.
It's Edward G. Robinson as Wolf Larson in a portrayal that far surpasses anything he's ever done. Ida Lupino as a girl of the Barbary coast, the one girl in the midst of 100 desperate men.
Bear.
Oh, give me a break, will you? Will you? You won't be sorry. I promise you, you won't.
You're not on the Barbary coast now. You're on board my vessel. You behave yourself or you'll spend the rest of the voyage locked below.
I didn't mean it that way, Skipper. Honest, I didn't. Don't hold it against me, please. Oh, please give me a break, will you?
John Garfield, as you've never seen him before. The only man to challenge the iron discipline of the Seawolf.
He isn't talking to a dog. He's talking to a man. You're a man, huh?
I've spit in the eye of better men than you for saying less.
You're disobeying orders, Leach.
I don't like the way you give them.
Supposing I told you it don't make any difference to me anymore.
You gotta fight. You can't quit.
This ship is a scavenger, and he's the worst scavenger of them all. There'll be less of you come back alive from this voyage than went on it. Hey, Larson, tell them about your brother, Death Larson. Tell them about the fear that comes into your heart at the mention of his name.
I fear no man. No man.
Look at Bear. All right, so there's Bear. And thank you to my father for watching the whole movie with me. As part of research for this. There's Bear dried up. But what do you think, Danny? There's something about, Bear really at this point, you got to think that this is sailing ships are going away, and there's still this kind of evocative. Bear's one of the last survivors of the romantic era of sail that's being captured there.
I love that song. All right, let's go up and do, hey, Cole, why don't you do a quick introduction right in front of the microphone and Maui?
Good evening, everyone. Again, First Class Cole Monahan. I'm the president of the Idlers of the Coast Guard Academy. So we specialize in sea shanties, such as the one we're about to sing for you called Maui, and also patriotic songs, barbershop, and Irish folk songs. So we hope you enjoy this one.
It's a mighty hard life of toil and strife we weathermen undergo, and we won't give a damn till the gale is done how hard the winds did blow. For we're homeward bound from the Arctic ground with a good ship taut and free, and we won't give a damn till we drink our rum with the girls of old Maui. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. We are homeward bound from the Arctic ground, rolling down to old Maui.
Once more we'll sail with a northerly gale through the ice and wind and rain. Them tropical lands and coconut fronds we soon shall see again. 6 hellish months we toiled away on the cold Kamchatka Sea. Now we're homeward bound from the Arctic ground, rolling down to old Maui. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. We are homeward bound from the Arctic ground, rolling down to old Maui.
Once more we'll sail with a northerly gale towards our island home. Our mainmast's run, our whaling's done, now we ain't got far to roam. Our stuns'l bones is carried away, what care we for that sound? A living gale is after us, thank God, are homeward bound. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. We are homeward bound from the Arctic ground, rolling down to old Maui.
A soft summer breeze from the island trees, and the ice is far astern. Them native maids in the tropical glades is awaiting our return. Right now their big brown eyes look out, hoping for some day to see our baggy sails rolling for the gales, rolling down to old Maui.
Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. We are homeward bound from the Arctic ground, rolling down to old Maui. Rolling down to old Maui, me boys, rolling down to old Maui. We are homeward bound from the Arctic ground, rolling down to old Maui.
So, Seawolf brings in some revenue for the ship, but she's also available for other purposes. And she's available for other purposes. And in 1932, Explorers Club member, Rear Admiral Richard Byrd, purchases Bear for $1,050 for use on his second Antarctic expedition. At this point, Bear becomes a notable ship. All of her previous service has been in the Arctic. She's now becoming an Antarctic ship. Byrd takes her on his second Antarctic expedition. There's some great artifacts from that around this building. And afterwards, so here's a picture of Byrd's modifications. Anyone spot what he's added to her? Okay, he's changed the engine. Anything else? He put an airplane on her. She's got a seaplane on her now, which I think is pretty cool. She goes to Antarctica on the second Antarctic expedition. After they come back from that, Byrd starts distributing some of her loot from the ship that he owns, from this famous ship, because she's legendary already at this point. He takes her masthead, the Bear there, and donates it to the museum, Mariners Museum there at Newport News. He takes her bell, not the original bell. The original bell from back in the 1880s had been taken off of her, I think in 1926 when she was decommissioned. But the bell that he had added to her for his expedition is right outside the door, sir. That was what signaled you to come into this lecture hall. And every one of our Monday night lectures at 7 p.m., the speaker gets to ring the bell to summon us. And you can see they put this kind of, afterwards, as the, they put this kind of chintzy replacement bear on it afterwards. But he then leases her to the U.S. Navy for $1 a year while retaining ownership of her. And that Byrd was really from this larger-than-life character. He's going to Antarctica on this ship, this sailing ship with an airplane on it. You have this kind of, in some ways, it's the high point of the high point of kind of military pop culture that's setting the stage for us to go into World War II. So with that, you got anything? This is a little bit of a stretch because Danny and I are trying to match their repertoires into Bear's history. But you got anything that kind of speaks to the really having fun? I mean, Byrd was a celebrity. Even though he was in the Navy, he was a celebrity on loan from the Navy doing these things. So you got anything that makes the military sound fun?
Maybe something from World War II, a really popular song.
Well, you know there's groups that would sing for the military, right?
I wonder if they recognize you.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Again, I am First Class Emma Deary. I'm the president of the Fair Winds, the female vocal ensemble for the Coast Guard Academy. The song that we will be, thank you. The song that we will be singing for you this evening comes from the World War II era, and it was actually performed by a lot of girl groups to boost morale for a lot of these crews. So please enjoy Boogie Woogie.
He was a famous trumpet man from out Chicago way. He had a boogie style that no one else could play. He was a top man at his craft. And then his number came up and he was gone to the draft. He's in the army now, alone readily. He's a boogie woogie bugle boy, company B. They made him blow his bugle for his Uncle Sam. It really brought him down because he couldn't jam. The captain seemed to understand. Because the next to the cap went out and drafted a band. And now the company jumps when he plays readily. He's a boogie woogie bugle boy, company B. A root, a toot, they have to toot, he blows eight to the bar. In boogie rhythm, he can't blow a note unless the bass and guitar is playing with him. And the company jumps when he plays readily. He's a boogie woogie bugle boy, company B. He was a boogie woogie bugle boy, company B. He puts the boys to sleep and boogie every night and wakes them up the same way in the early bright. They clap their hands and stomp their feet because they know how he plays when someone gives him a beat. He really breaks it up when he plays readily. He's a boogie woogie bugle boy, company B. A root, a toot, they have to toot. He blows eight to the bar. In boogie rhythm, he can't blow a note unless the bass and guitar is playing with him. And the company jumps when he plays readily. He's a boogie woogie bugle boy of company B.
It's neat to think of that song being played on the radio aboard Bear. So this is what Bear looks like at this point in her career. You note the flag, she's in commissioned service. And she's used, as the war gets closer and closer to reality, she goes back to Antarctica. with the United States Antarctic Service Expedition, still under Admiral Byrd. She's part of. There's a concern that Antarctica might actually get militarized, and that the Axis powers might actually move there. And so this is from when she goes down and she evacuates the American scientist on Antarctica because of concerns of the war. And then the war starts, and she actually, you can see she's modified even more as she continues to go. So during World War II, she becomes the oldest commissioned warship to leave the United States. Technically, anyone know the two older commissioned ships than Bear at this point? Constitution is one of them, and Constellation. So Constitution and Constellation, 2 of the 6 original frigates. Don't worry, cadets, it's Navy facts. You don't need to know that. Constitution and Constellation are older, but they're just sitting in a harbor because they don't actually go to sea. Bear goes to sea. Bear is assigned to the Greenland Patrol. As part of the Greenland Patrol, this is what she looks like in that configuration. She captures the first enemy warship to be captured during World War II. This is a Norwegian trawler. The name of it is, do I dare attempt to say it? The Norwegian chapter is going to be mad at me if I say this improperly. No matter, you guys can look it up because looking in my notes. Anyone else want to try to say it? The King Olive. No. All right. She captures it, and she tows it back into Boston. And she spends the war, she's both the Queen of the Fleet, the oldest ship afloat in the commissioned service, but she is actively patrolling for all of World War II. So at that point, this ship has served in World War I, World War II, all the way back to the 1880s. She served in the Arctic, the Antarctic, and now she's still contributing to the war effort. So with that, any songs that strike you from this?
A song about a big old ship. Well, there's Roll the Chariot. Oh, wait. You know that one. Yeah. We know this one. Okay. All right. Yeah, Roll the Chariot. This is a really old sailing song. It comes from a lot of different sources. No one really knows where this came from. It's suspected it may be kind of a combination of English folk as well as African American spirituals, kind of merged to create this song about the old chariot, which they referenced an old ship. So let's do Roll the Chariot. B, please.
We'll be all right if the wind be in our sails. We'll be all right if the wind be in our sails. And we'll all hang on behind, and we'll roll the old chariot along. And we'll roll the old chariot along. And we'll roll the old chariot along. And we'll all hang on behind.
We'll be all right if we make it round the horn.
We'll be all right if we make it round the horn. We'll be all right if we make it round the horn. And we'll all hang on behind. And we'll roll the old chariot along. And we'll roll the old chariot along. And we'll roll the old chariot along. And we'll all hang on behind.
Well, a drop of Nelson's blood wouldn't do us any harm.
Well, a drop of Nelson's blood wouldn't do us any harm. Well, a drop of Nelson's blood wouldn't do us any harm. And we'll all hang on behind. And we'll roll the old chariots along. And we'll roll the old chariots along. And we'll roll the old chariots along. And we'll all hang on behind.
Well, a night on the town wouldn't do us any harm.
Well, a night on the town wouldn't do us any harm.
Well, a night on the town wouldn't do us any harm, and we'll all hang on behind, and we'll roll the old chariots along, and we'll roll the old chariots along, and we'll roll the old chariots along, and we'll all hang on behind, and we'll roll the old chariots along, and we'll roll the old chariots along, and we'll roll the old chariots along, and we'll all hang on behind.
Imagine spending World War II, the war with the atom bomb, and you're spending it aboard this ship. As I'm listening to you and you talk about rounding the horn, you're spending it on a ship that rounded the horn because the Panama Canal didn't exist the first time she was transferred theaters. And I did look it up while you were talking, and it was the Norwegian ship Busco that was hauled, that Bear hauled as a prize to Boston. Do you guys know any songs about Boston?
This one starts on a B.
From Boston Harbor we set sail. The wind was blowing a devil of a gale. With the ringtail set all about the mizzen peak, and a dolphin striker plowing at the deep. With a bow wow wow, tow row row, boldy roldy dido day.
Now the captain he called up from below, saying lay aloft and lay alow. Saying lay low and lay aloft, and just tighten up your ropes, boys, fore and aft. With a bow wow wow, tow row row, baldy roddy dido day.
Then it's down to the cabin he quickly calls, and unto the steward he loudly calls, saying, give me a drink that'll make me cough, 'cause it's better weather here than aloft.
With a bow wow wow, tow row row, baldy roddy dido day. Now it's we poor seamen up on the decks, with the blasted rain all pouring down our necks. Not a drop of grog would he us afford, he said damn your eyes at every other word. With a bow wow wow, tow row row, baldy roddy dido day. Now there's just one thing which we have to crave, is that he will find a watery grave.
So we'll heave him down into some dark hole,
Where the sharks will have his body and the devil take his soul. With a bow wow wow, tow row row, foldy roddy dido day. Now the old bugger's dead and gone, but he's left us to his one and only son. And if he don't prove kind and frank, so help me Jimmy, we'll walk him to the plank.
with a bow wow
Bow wow wow, tow row row, baldy roddy dido day. With a bow wow wow, tow row row, baldy roddy dido day.
So during this period, Bear becomes the oldest U.S. Navy ship to be deployed outside the continental United States during the war. She is the last sail-driven ship to sail in combat from the United States. She's the only Navy ship to have served in combat during the Spanish-American War and both World Wars. But she was worn out, and in 1944 she was decommissioned, and then in 1948 she was sold by the U.S. government for $5,199. So Byrd did make a decent investment on that. She was purchased by Frank Shaw of Nova Scotia, and she goes back to Nova Scotia and is refit as a sealer. However, the sealing fishery collapses, and she never actually, she basically becomes a hulk. And there's talk about trying to save her, but in 1962, she's purchased by Alfred Johnston in Philadelphia. Plans to turn her into a restaurant to tow her there. And in 1963, while under tow by the tug Irving Birch, which is pictured here, Irving Birch. And this is Bear sinking on March 19th, 1963. Was being under tow in a gale. Tow line snapped. The tow line caused her when the tow line snapped, it demasted her, and the mast collapsed and punctured the hull off the coast of Nova Scotia. Sad ending to a great ship. No one quite knew where she was until because of her significance for the Coast Guard in particular. The mascot of the Coast Guard Academy is the bear. Do you guys still have a bear? Someone should suggest to your superintendent you guys get a bear as a mascot again. There could maybe be some Explorers Club partnership there. Bear conservation and this. But in 2019, a National Oceanic Atmospheric Administration expedition, partnership really with the Coast Guard and them, located the bear. But I'd prefer to think of her in her glory days, when Byrd put the aircraft on her and took her back to Antarctica. When she served as the Queen of the Fleet during World War II. When she served as probably the greatest ship in the Coast Guard and in the Explorers Club. And so as we kind of think about this incredibly honored ship, I was wondering if you have any songs that might wrap this all together.
I heard the word honor there. I think that's the one. Honor to serve. Yeah, this is one of their favorites.
It's an honor to serve throughout air, land, and sea. It's an honor to serve and to keep homeland free, to protect and defend, and to rescue at sea. It's an honor to serve.
It is an honor to serve our country. We are proud members of the United States Coast Guard. We stand tall with the utmost respect for our Commander-in-Chief, for the fellow military members around the world, and for our nation. May God bless America.
It's an honor to serve, to serve. We will stand and salute. We will stand tall and proud as they lift up the flag at the front of the crowd. We are Coast Guard for air and will always be proud. It's an honor to serve, to serve.
Pretty special to hear that the night before Election Day. Pretty special to think about honor. Honor is living up to values, to the service's values, to the country's values. The Coast Guard, the Bear, was a Coast Guard ship. She was a Navy ship. I'm standing here as an Army veteran. We can all be proud of the honor in each of our services. And maybe we conclude by singing, highlighting each of their services. But I also want to recognize that none of the accomplishments, think of all the people who sailed on this ship, think of all the families that were behind them, all the communities that were behind them while they served. And I just want to say on behalf of the Veterans Initiative of the club, as we about sing a song specifically celebrating the services, I'm so grateful for the Explorers Club and for the way that the members of this club who are not veterans have made this welcoming, have made this a home throughout my military service. It's the community that is what we all share when we celebrate the services like this. So with that, do you have a song that celebrates the services?
For sure. For sure.
I invite you to stand if your service song is played.
Yeah, we'll sing through all of the service songs. I want to highlight two that may not be as familiar to you. There is a new service, and it has a new song. So we will sing for you tonight the Space Force song as part of this. We've not seen many Space Force veterans so far, but more and more are starting to stand up for that. And then we always like to sing the song of our shipmates with the Merchant Marines, so we're going to sing their song as well. So we do invite you to stand if you served, or if you want to honor the service of a spouse or child, someone close to you, please do that so we can honor that service as well.
First to fight for the right and to fill the nation's might, and the army goes rolling along. Down above we have done fighting till the battle's won, and the army goes rolling along. Then it's high, high, hey, the army's on its way. Count off the cannons loud and strong. For wherever we go, we will always know that the army goes rolling along. From the halls of Montezuma to the shores of Tripoli, may you fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First to fight for right and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines. Anchors aweigh, my boys, anchors aweigh. Farewell to foreign shores, we sail at break of day. Through our last night on shore, drink to the foam. Until we meet once more, here's wishing you a happy voyage home. Off we go into the wild blue yonder, flying high in the sun. Here it comes, zooming to meet our thunder. Adam boys, giving the gun. Down we dive, starting our flame from under. Off with one hell of a roar. We live, go down in flames. Hey, nothing can stop the U.S. Air Force. We're the mighty watchful eye, guardians beyond the blue, the invisible front line, war fighters brave and true, boldly reaching into space. There's no limit to our skies, standing guard both night and day. We're the Space Force from on high. Heave ho, my lads, heave ho. It's a long, long way to go. It's a long, long pull with our hatches full, braving the wind, braving the sea, fighting a treacherous foe. Heave ho, my lads, heave ho. Let the sea roll high or low. We can cross any ocean, sail any river. Give us the goods and we'll deliver. Down the submarine, we're America's merchant marine. Heave ho! From Aztec shore to Arctic zone to Europe, and Far East. The flag is carried by our ships we fly the world peace. And never have we struck it yet in spite of foeman's might, who cheered our crews and cheered again for showing how to fight. We're always ready for the call. We place our trust in Thee. Through surf and storm and howling gale, high shall our purpose be. Semper Paratus is our guide, our fame, our glory too. To fight, to save, or fight and die, I, Coast Guard, we are for you.
Bravo. So we're right at an hour. I just want to see, are there any questions for the cadets? It's a public lecture, so we have to ask questions at the end. We don't have to. Does anyone have a question they'd like to ask? The bar is open downstairs. Felix will bring the microphone there.
My question is, how far does the Coast Guard travel from the U.S. continental shores to serve the country?
Repeat that, Paul.
Sure. So the question is, how far does the Coast Guard travel from U.S. shores as they serve our country, as they protect it? Would any of the cadets like to answer that?
Very far.
Very far.
We do have international patrols. We partner with various other countries and territories. We currently have, I think, someone stationed out in Bahrain. That's the furthest one I can think of. But we do also have personnel over in Europe and then in other places around the world. So we get out.
That's a great answer. All right. Any other questions? One in front here, Felix.
You realize you were brave enough to be a Coast Guardman.
Who would like to answer that one? I told you we were doing this live.
I come from a Navy family, so my parents were both in the Navy, and I knew that I wanted to go to a military academy when I grew up. So I think I kind of was growing into that, but I was planning on going to Navy for the longest time, and then I realized that the Coast Guard's missions were much more attuned to my personality and what I want to do with my life, so that's me. Just really quick, raise your hand if you have someone in your family that has served. Now raise your hand if you have someone in your family, if you're the first in your family to serve. So I think that we all come from really diverse backgrounds, and for a lot of different people, I think that the humanitarian mission of the Coast Guard really speaks to the core of why we choose to serve.
That reminds me of the old joke. Do you know what a Coast Guard Academy Cadet and a Naval Academy Cadet have in common?
I do not.
They both applied to the Coast Guard Academy.
Yeah, they did.
Works equally well for West Point. I've told that joke from the West Point perspective in here. Any other questions? Well, with that, I think it's a good time maybe to call it. Would you like to make any comments, sir? I don't want to put you on the spot. All right, please welcome the Superintendent of the Coast Guard Academy, Admiral Johnston.
I came to hear them sing. So I'm glad we were able to share with you what I experience every day. They are amazing young men and women who inspire me every single day and really give me a great sense of security for the future of our nation. And so another round of applause for these amazing young men and women. I appreciate the invite, Paula. I learned a ton today about the Bear, which is a famous ship that we know a lot about and that you dug up 8 times. So it was fascinating. But I think the most important thing that I heard was these people were rescued and they went on to do amazing things. And what I think about every day, and the reason I stay in is because we do so much to save so many people, and we go all over. I will tell you that our mission is to ensure that people can travel on the water wherever they need to go. And so it doesn't matter where you are, we will come get you. We only need 2 things to come get you. We think we know where you are, and we think you're in danger. That's it. And we are on the way, right? And so, yeah. And all those people saved go on to do amazing things and have dinner with their families and Thanksgivings and Christmases. And I think that's what keeps us all going, regardless of the challenges. And I think the spirit that the Explorers Club represents, this idea of taking on challenges, going to the unknown, and having adventures and learning things, that is the same spirit that I think lives in all of us as well. So thank you again for the invite. I feel like we are of like mind. Thanks. I wanted to give you this because I know you would appreciate it. The Bear Club.
Thank you very much. So, to conclude, the Admiral just presented the Explorers Club with his coin, which, as you can see, is in the shape of a bear claw. And in gratitude for the Coast Guard's support for this evening, we wanted to just present, and maybe if the cadet in charge would like to step forward. The Military Veteran Initiative in the club has these are military spec flags. You do with them what you will. I'm sure they're not authorized. But we'd like to present one of these to each one of your cadets, and then we also have one for you as well, sir. So thank you so much for making this a wonderful evening, a really special night. I also want to thank, and here you are, sir. Thank you very much. I also want to thank the people, the staff who made tonight happen, especially doing it live. That's challenging. Luis and Alex back there operating it. Luis is actually the contemporary iteration of the club's Military Veteran Initiative. It was really Luis's idea. I also want to thank Felix. Felix just ran out because I think he heard I was about to thank him. Felix for responding to somewhat of the last-minute planning on a lot of this. And thank you to all of you. The Explorers Club, at the end of the day, it is great stories. It is a great history, but it's a community. And that community only exists if you show up, if you support it. Thank you for being here and for supporting it. With that, you have an opportunity to support it further. The bar is open until 10 p.m. And go vote. Thank you very much.